In the stillness of your heart, there is a place where secret longings abide, where fervent hopes dwell unspoken, and where silent cries resonate with an intensity that words often fail to convey. Sometimes, these yearnings remain buried beneath the rush of daily routines, obscured by mundane tasks and swallowed by the clamor of pressing obligations. Yet they persist, echoing in the quiet moments of the night and filling your mind with a gentle but persistent ache. In those moments, you may find yourself wondering if anyone can truly see that hidden hunger for healing, purpose, or peace. You might sense that people around you notice only what you present outwardly, that your strong facade conceals the tender areas of your soul. And even when you attempt to share your struggles, it can feel as if the most profound parts of your sorrow remain locked away. This is the silent cry of your heart, the plea that calls out without sound, hoping for a divine touch that can transform your world. The truth is that the Lord sees this hidden cry in all its depth, far beyond your public face and beyond any mask you might wear to conceal vulnerability. The Lord discerns the shape and substance of every dream, every bruise, every aspiration, and every invisible bruise on your spirit. In God's presence, there is no secret so deeply buried that it remains hidden forever. The one who spoke creation into existence is the same God who understands the unspoken language of your heart. When you choose to pray first, before sharing your burden with anyone else, you align yourself with a powerful promise. You choose to draw near to the one who holds all answers, all resources, all wisdom, and every healing balm. In that prayerful approach, you declare that you believe something supernatural can happen. You believe that God moves in response to faith, and you believe that no earnest petition goes unheard. That hope, that belief in divine intervention, sets the stage for extraordinary things to unfold. This is not a mystical fantasy, nor is it a faint wish for some ephemeral magic. Rather, it is a confident conviction that when you turn your heart toward the Creator, you step into a sacred relationship where your silent cries are welcomed, cherished, and lovingly handled. The Lord will fulfill the silent cry of your heart, not because you always know how to pray eloquently, but because divine grace meets you in your sincerity. God's intimate knowledge of your unspoken desires means that you do not have to orchestrate every detail of your deliverance. You do not have to prove your worth or carry the weight of demonstrating your own value. Instead, you get to stand in awe of the one who is both your loving Father and your victorious King, for it is God's good pleasure to bring light into every corner of your life. Let your heart open wide to the possibility that your silent cry is heard, and that in ways you cannot yet anticipate, the Lord will provide answers, direction, and fulfillment far surpassing your human understanding. Imagine the experience of walking through a long, dark tunnel. You know there must be a light at the other end, but in the thick shadows, your perception begins to falter. You're not entirely certain whether the path is straight or winding, whether there are obstacles you might trip over, or whether a sudden drop might appear. All you sense is the persistent darkness. In these moments, hopelessness tries to whisper that there is no way forward. Yet one simple action can change your entire perspective. Turning on a flashlight. The light may not instantly whisk you to the end of the tunnel, but it illuminates your immediate surroundings and provides you with enough clarity to take the next step. That is precisely what prayer accomplishes. It is not always a sudden transportation out of hardship or confusion, but a guiding beam that grants you the perspective you need to walk forward with confidence. When you choose to pray first, you intentionally kindle the spiritual illumination that comes from inviting the Lord to be at the forefront of your every concern. Prayer is an invitation into deeper intimacy with God. It is the place where you stand vulnerable, unprotected by your usual defenses, acknowledging that you cannot solve every problem by your own strength. In that vulnerability, there is freedom. There is release in admitting that the burdens you carry were never meant to be carried alone. While friends, mentors, and loved ones can provide support and empathy, there is a divine provision that surpasses what any human being can offer. When you approach God with an open heart, you invite the eternal, omniscient, and compassionate Creator to speak to your silent cry. That voice of the divine can quicken your spirit, align your thoughts with God's truth, and bring wisdom that human intelligence alone cannot fathom. Too often, individuals view prayer as a last resort. They try solutions A, B, and C, and when none of them work, they finally say, "All that's left is to pray." But consider the extraordinary shift that happens when you make prayer your first resort. Instead of expending energy on strategies that lead nowhere, you start from the seat of divine guidance. You begin with the omnipotent power of God, rather than relying on your limited understanding. This shift in perspective is transformational. It has a way of centering your life on the power of God, rather than the limitations of your own ability. And when you pray first, you show God that you are willing to trust, even when the path ahead looks murky. You become receptive to divine solutions that might not match your preconceived notions. There is a certain beauty in recognizing that the Lord is intimately aware of your fears, your dreams, and your hidden tears. The burden you have carried for so long, the frustration of waiting for an answer, the confusion about which path to take. None of these are secrets to God. Sometimes you may feel unseen by people around you, and the weight of obscurity can grow heavy on your heart. Yet the one who fashioned you in the womb, who formed your every feature, and who breathed life into your being, can never fail to see you. The eyes of the Almighty rest upon you at every moment, not to condemn or to judge, but to embrace you with a love so profound that it defies human understanding. In that realization lies the assurance that your silent cry does not escape divine notice. Every pang of sorrow, every hushed plea for change, every longing for peace is acknowledged in the realms of heaven. When you consider the idea of a silent cry, it can evoke the image of tears that fall without an accompanying sob, or a soul-level groan that has no audible expression. Sometimes, life deals you circumstances that leave you speechless. Words lose their meaning, prayers falter into stammered fragments, and in frustration, you might wonder if God even registers such broken attempts at communication. The encouraging news is that God's Spirit intercedes for you, translating your struggles into perfect petitions before the heavenly throne. Thus, even when you cannot articulate your needs, God understands them fully. This divine connection offers profound comfort, reminding you that your tears themselves can be prayers, your sighs can be pleas, and your silent cries can be heard and answered. The nature of fulfillment in God's hands often defies human logic. Perhaps you have prayed for a specific door to open, only to watch that door remain locked. You might interpret the silence or the closed door as God's refusal. Yet in God's wisdom, what you see as a denial may in fact be a redirection. God knows the end from the beginning. Divine perspective sees what you cannot yet see. Sometimes the path to fulfilling your heart's deepest cry involves taking you on a journey through unexpected terrains. You might endure seasons that feel barren and lonely, but those very seasons could be preparing you with the character and resilience needed for a blessing you have not yet imagined. God's faithfulness extends far beyond your immediate wants, aiming instead to satisfy the deeper needs that fuel your silent pleas. When you pray first, you place yourself in a posture of surrender. You say, in essence, Lord, I give you permission to shape my journey, to redirect me if necessary, and to refine me in the process. This posture is not a defeat. Rather, it is an act of faith that acknowledges divine sovereignty and supreme goodness. Surrendering to God does not mean you relinquish dreams or lose your sense of identity. Instead, it invites God to be the architect of the destiny that best serves your soul's true design. In that sacred partnership, every experience, both joyful and painful, becomes a potential tool in the hands of the master craftsman. Nothing is wasted. Every sorrow teaches you to empathize more deeply. Every setback builds perseverance, and every blessing reminds you of God's loving attention. It is understandable to grow weary when you have been waiting for an answer. The silent cry of your heart might have been resonating for years, longing for breakthrough or healing, for reconciliation in a broken relationship, for the restoration of hope where disappointment has reigned. In such prolonged seasons, the temptation to give up can loom large. You may wonder if your prayers are going nowhere, if heaven's windows are closed to your petitions. It is in these very moments of desperation that the seeds of extraordinary faith are often planted. The spiritual heroes of old, described in sacred texts, frequently endured long stretches of waiting before witnessing God's miraculous intervention. They found that in the waiting, their faith was not merely tested, but refined into something more precious than gold. Their trust in God's unfailing nature grew more robust precisely because it had been tempered by adversity. In a similar way, your silent cry, sustained by prayer, can become a conduit for a deeper and richer relationship with the Lord. The promise that the Lord will fulfill the silent cry of your heart is anchored in the truth of God's character. Since God embodies perfect love, divine responses to your cries are rooted in that love. Sometimes this means an immediate, tangible answer that leaves you in awe. Other times, it means you walk through a process that gradually unfolds, revealing layer by layer the intricate ways God is shaping your future. Still other times, the answer might come wrapped in a form you never expected, addressing needs you didn't realize you had. If you look for God's hand in your life with an open mind, you will see that no gesture is too small for significance, and no intervention is too large for possibility. In every scenario, the underlying certainty remains. God cares about you, hears your unspoken pleas, and works everything together for good for those who love the Lord. Hope is a powerful anchor in this journey. When you dare to hope, you refuse to let despair define your perspective. You open your heart to the possibility that God's best awaits. That hope can be nurtured through reflective prayer, through meditating on sacred promises, and through remembering past instances when you saw divine involvement in your life or the lives of others. By recalling how God moved at times when you felt trapped or desolate, you strengthen your conviction that the future holds similar or even greater miracles. Hope guides your steps forward, reminding you that the final chapter has not been written until God has had the last word. Within this context, worship becomes an expression of trust. To worship in the midst of heartbreak or confusion is to declare that you believe in the goodness of God despite your circumstances. It is to say, "I trust you, Lord, to hear the silent cry of my heart, even when the evidence around me suggests otherwise." This act of reverence realigns your emotions with the truth of divine faithfulness. Worship breaks the chains of discouragement and opens the gates of gratitude. It shifts your focus from the magnitude of the problem to the greatness of the one who holds your future. As you bow before God in humility and adoration, you make space for the supernatural to invade your natural reality. Still, it can be challenging to persist when everything within you screams that your silent cry has been overlooked. In such moments, find solace in the knowledge that God honors authenticity. Pour out your honest feelings in prayer. Do not hide your frustration, your fear, or your disappointment. The Lord is big enough to handle your most raw expressions. In fact, sincere prayer paves the way for deep healing. As you release your tension, you make room to hear the gentle whispers of divine reassurance. Through this open and honest dialogue, you develop a more profound connection with the one who saves, heals, and restores. Your silent cry might concern a relationship that needs mending, a physical ailment that wears you down, a financial crisis that threatens your stability, or an inner struggle against doubt or anxiety. Regardless of the specifics, the Lord remains unchanging in compassion and power. The same Creator who hung the stars in the night sky and formed galaxies beyond human comprehension is intimately concerned with your day-to-day challenges. This is not a trivial matter to the God who knows every hair on your head. So let your faith rise, knowing that your concerns are both seen and valid. Allow the assurance of divine compassion to encourage you to keep praying, keep hoping, and keep believing. Allow that quiet confidence in God's attention to your silent cry to stir you to greater levels of trust. When you find yourself doubting that God can or will come through, recall the testimonies of others who have walked similar paths. Their stories of how God came through against all odds can infuse you with fresh conviction. The power of testimony lies in its ability to awaken faith in others. If you look carefully, you will find examples everywhere of individuals who faced situations that seemed impossible until God moved. Their experiences are not meant to be exceptions reserved for the favored few. They are reminders that no circumstance is beyond the reach of divine intervention. As you immerse yourself in these accounts, the silent cry of your heart is joined by a powerful chorus of faith. You realize that you are part of a larger story, one in which God's faithfulness is revealed time and time again. In the pursuit of seeing your silent cry fulfilled, it is essential to guard your heart against cynicism. Disappointment can sometimes breed a hardened perspective, prompting you to expect the worst. But hope thrives in a heart that resists the urge to give in to bitterness. Replace cynicism with gratitude for every small blessing you encounter along your path. Praise God for the sunlight of a new day, for a kind word from a friend, for moments of laughter and rest. Each act of gratitude magnifies your awareness of divine presence. This habit of thankfulness keeps your spirit pliable, ready to receive and recognize the miraculous when it manifests. When the moment finally arrives and you witness a breakthrough, you will see that the Lord truly did fulfill your silent cry. The evidence may appear suddenly, or it may develop gradually, but it will be unmistakably woven with grace and purpose. In that moment, reflect back on your journey. Remember the tears you shed in secret, the nights you spent wrestling with your doubts, the frustration you felt when no immediate answer came. Recognize how each of those experiences molded you into a stronger, wiser, and more empathetic person. Realize that through every high and low, God was at work, orchestrating a plan that surpassed your limited vision. This reflection not only brings deeper gratitude, but also fortifies your faith for future challenges. It becomes a testimony that you can share, so that others who are still in the waiting season might be encouraged by your story. The silent cry of your heart is not overlooked by the one who shaped your being and ordained your days. It may sometimes seem as though your prayers ascend into emptiness, but the truth stands eternal. God hears you, sees you, and cares about every detail of your soul's longing. You are invited to pray first, to lift your silent plea before the heavenly throne, and to wait with expectant hope for the Lord's move. This is not merely a sentiment to ease your conscience. It is a promise backed by the unfailing character of a loving God. Your tears, your hopes, and your whispered pleas are not lost in the cacophony of worldly noise. They ascend into a realm where divine compassion and power converge on your behalf. Nothing is impossible for the Lord who holds galaxies in place, yet gently tends to the cry of your heart. No matter how deep the ache, how long the wait, or how hidden the fear, God's capacity to intervene exceeds all limits. Your silent cry is known, valued, and destined for a sacred response. Embrace this reality with the certainty that your prayer is not in vain, for the Lord delights in showing mercy, bestowing grace, and revealing answers that bring glory to the divine name. When you pray first and trust in God's timing, you open the door to a realm of blessings that defies your human expectations. You find refuge in the knowledge that you are never alone, that you are heard, and that the same God who breathed life into your lungs is committed to fulfilling the deepest pleas of your spirit. As you rest in that truth, let your hope stand strong, and let your faith guide you onward. The Lord will fulfill the silent cry of your heart, turning your hushed sighs into triumphant songs of gratitude, lifting your burdens and weaving every sorrow into a tapestry of renewed purpose and joy.